Karen Travers joins us from the White House, ABC News White House correspondent, with some sobering news that happened in the world yesterday. Good morning, Karen Travers.
Good morning. Yeah, the White House condemning this horrific attack in Syria, an apparent war crime, a suspected sarin gas attack, calling it reprehensible and saying that it cannot be ignored by the civilized world. But in that same brief statement, the Trump White House also pointing the finger squarely on the Obama administration, saying these heinous actions by the Assad regime are a consequence of the past administration's weakness and irresolution. Clearly referring to President Obama setting out that red line when it came to chemical weapons and then not doing anything after Bashar al-Assad crossed it.
Yeah, you have that, but you also have more recently Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, and Nikki Haley saying things like the people of Syria have to determine regime change, and sort of gave a signal that we weren't going to hold his feet to the fire as we have been. Has anybody pointed to those comments as giving him some type of wind in his sails to do what he wants?
And a bit of cover there. Certainly a lot of attention being paid to that comment from last week from Secretary of State Tillerson, because that was signaling a very significant change in U.S. policy, which has been that Bashar al-Assad must go. Now, the indication from the White House yesterday in response to questions was that that is still the policy, but as Rex Tillerson said, he said that the status of Assad will be decided by the Syrian people. He was asked about this yesterday in a photo op with Jordan's King Abdullah, but Tillerson did not comment. We are going to see President Trump today. He sits down for a series of meetings with King Abdullah and then will take questions in the Rose Garden. Syria was already on their agenda, and no doubt that this makes it a much more urgent issue they need to deal with.
Syria, as anybody pays 5 minutes of attention to, is a hornet's nest. You have ISIS, you have Syria, you have Russia in there, you have Iran, you have us. There are no easy answers to any of this, and as you get closer to the Oval Office, you realize there are no easy answers. Do we have any idea what President Trump is thinking today?
We don't. Yesterday, there were a lot of questions for the press secretary after he came out and gave the statement condemning the attack. And of course, that leads to, so what are you going to do? What should we expect to see as a response from the United States? And Sean Spicer would only say they don't want to telegraph that, and really dodging questions on what action might be taken or what will not be done.
Do we know who was gassed? Was it his own people? Was it the rebels? Was it ISIS? Do we have any idea?
I mean, just from looking at the footage and what we're hearing from activist groups, it was people. I mean, there were children that were part of this too. Dozens. I think the death toll is now above 70 at this point. When you have these situations where there's a country that's obviously so unstable and chaotic right now, there's an attempt by sides to point the finger in another direction. But the reaction from around the world has been overwhelmingly putting the blame on Bashar al-Assad's regime, everybody calling this a government attack.
Karen Travers, ABC News White House correspondent. Things get fun and games till it gets real. So thanks for checking in. Appreciate it.